Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Wright, and I'm here on behalf of my fellow classmates, Shay Estrada and Julie Howroyd, and we'll be presenting the oral presentation for our action research paper. The title of our action research paper is Visual Support Intervention for Task Completion for Nonverbal Adult Students with ASD. Before I go any further, let me also make mention of the fact that I'm joined by my illustrious colleagues, Department Chair Ms. Moore, fellow colleagues Ms. Albano and Mrs. Stremis, and also Coach Cole. Thank you for being here. The problem is that adults with severe ASD often become disruptive when transitioning between activities with the use of just audio commands. The purpose of this study is to prove that visual support exchange communication aids in task completion. The study will be measuring the benefits of utilizing visual supports in place of verbal-only directions to aid in low-functioning, nonverbal adults with ASD in learning and in completing new tasks. Let me talk first now about some literature. Okay? The Picture Exchange Communication System, better known as PECS, was developed to teach children with autism spectrum disorder and related developmental disabilities with functional communication systems. PECS require the user to approach a communicative partner and initiate interaction prior to performing a communicative act. What are the two research questions that we hope to answer? Question number 1, are students with ASD more prone to act out when presented just verbal commands without the use of visual supports? We want to examine the behavior. And question 2, with the use of visual supports, will task completion be more effective with students who previously received verbal-only commands? And here we wanted to look at the effectiveness of the visual exchange communication. Our methodology. We have a series of 7 tasks that we gave the students. The visual supports that we'll be using, as you can see, this is one example. It's simply a chair, and also you'll see on the left is the visual support, but on the right we get into what we call the visual schedule, which is a series of pictures that will help the student complete the task. And now let's move on to the data. If you'll notice, on each one of the 7 activities, we did some baseline data. We collect data before the activity, and if you'll notice, putting the chairs on the desk, on the left, you see that we had to offer several prompts throughout the task before the task was complete. And on the right, when the visual supports were added, if you'll notice, the amount of prompts dropped dramatically. And emptying the basket, if you'll notice on the left, we needed to prompt the subject 3 times, and we were never able to get the student to complete the task without the use of visual supports. However, on the right, when we use the visual support, if you'll notice, by the 5th, 6th, and 7th trial, the student was actually completing the task with 0 prompts. Erasing the board, the data speaks for itself. On the left, you'll see we are prompting the student on the first trial 4 and 5 times. Our student number 2 was able to complete the task with with the visual support with no prompting. Okay, pouring, the data again shows you with no visual supports on the left, needing 2 to 3 prompts and for 4 trials, but on the right, student number 2, and I should mention that student number 2 was the more higher functioning of the individuals. Okay, and spraying a table, if you'll notice on the left, 2 to 3 prompts, and then on the right with the visual support, no prompts needed. Wiping the table, on the left we have 2 to 3 prompts needed over the trials 3 and 4, but over on the right with the visual supports, we had student number 2 that was doing it automatically with no prompts. So what does this say about our results? Well, question number 1, are students with ASD more prone to act out when presented just verbal commands without the use of visual supports? Subjects responded with less physical aggression and negative behavior with the introduction of visual schedules. Subjects completed the tasks with less negative behavior. Question number 2, with the use of visual supports, will task completion be more effective with students who previously received verbal-only commands? The answer, As the graphs indicated, visual schedules increases the effectiveness of task completion. When the visual schedules were introduced, the need for prompting decreased and in some cases was eliminated altogether. Conclusion and recommendations for future research. When introduced to teaching and education, visual schedules provide the missing ingredient and become transparent tools for learning. If we were to replicate this study, we would consider improving the quality of the mediums used and possibly use iPads or videos and modern technology to improve the effectiveness of the visual schedules. Here are my references. I would like to open up the floor for questions. Coach Cole, do you have any questions? Thank you and have a good day.